I'm Mia, 30 years old, a freelance graphic designer living in Seattle. My life wasn't always this chaotic, but one morning, everything I thought I knew about love and family came crashing down. My husband, Henry, stood in our condo's living room, smirking as he handed his parents a shiny new credit card, my credit card, issued in my name without my knowledge. "This is for family," he said, his tone sharp, "and you're not quite there yet, Mia. If you don't like it, there's the door." My stomach twisted. Was this the man I'd married? The one I'd fallen for? Dazzled by his charm? I was too stunned to speak, my heart pounding with a mix of betrayal and rage. But let me back up. How did I end up here in my own home, feeling like an outsider? I grew up in a small town just outside Seattle, raised by my grandparents after my parents died in a car crash when I was 5. They were on their way back from my grandfather's funeral, a trip I was supposed to join, but a fever kept me home. That accident left me with a mortgage-free condo in a trendy Seattle neighborhood, bought by my parents before the area became a hot spot. It's spacious, with sleek hardwood floors and big windows that let in the Puget Sound breeze, a place I cherished, even if it held no memories of my parents. My grandparents gave me love and stability, but losing my parents so young left me craving connection, maybe a little too much. In college, I moved into the condo to study art at the University of Washington. I landed a job at a flashy advertising agency, designing campaigns for big brands. It was hectic, but I loved the creative rush. That's where I met Henry, a bartender at a cozy gastropub near the agency. My colleagues and I went there after work, drawn to its craft beers and warm vibe. Henry was the star of the place, tall, with a disarming smile and eyes that seemed to see right through you. "He's trouble," my coworker just teased, but I was already hooked. Henry had this way of making you feel special, like you were the only one in the room. When he leaned over the bar one evening, whispering, "You're different, Mia, in a good way," my heart skipped. I was 25, new to the city's dating scene, and his attention felt like a spotlight. We started dating, and it was a whirlwind. Henry was charming, always ready with a joke or a story about his crazy shifts at the pub. He'd grown up in a chaotic family, parents who burned through money, an older sister who acted like the world owed her, and a younger sister who just followed along. He seemed determined to rise above it, and I admired that. Or so I thought. 6 months later, we were married. It wasn't a big deal, no fancy wedding, just a quick trip to City Hall to sign the papers. I met his family once, a brief, awkward dinner where his older sister, Lila, sized me up like I was a rival, and his parents barely spoke. I didn't think much of it. I was in love, and Henry's promises of a simple, happy life together felt like enough. I quit my agency job to freelance, wanting the freedom to work from home. Henry supported it, saying, "Do what you love, Mia. It'll be easier for us." I thought he meant it. We settled into the condo, splitting bills, or so I thought. Looking back, I covered most of the expenses, utilities, groceries, even date nights. Henry contributed a small amount for the condo's management fees and taxes, saying, "No mortgage, right? This should cover us." I trusted him, too caught up in the glow of being newlyweds to question it. My grandparents warned me to keep my eyes open, but I brushed it off. I was building a life, a family, something I'd lost as a kid. For a while, it felt perfect. Me designing logos at my desk, Henry coming home late from the pub, us sharing takeout and laughing over silly TV shows. But that happiness was about to crack. One afternoon, Henry came home and said, "My family's coming to stay. They lost their place. You cool with that?" His tone was casual, but something felt off. I nodded, thinking it was temporary, maybe a week. I wanted to be supportive. After all, family helps family, right? But when his parents, Lila and Thea, showed up with suitcases, my heart sank. Lila strutted in, tossing her coat on my couch and barking, "Where's my room?" I stood there, frozen, as Henry just shrugged. That was the moment I realized my life wasn't mine anymore. Henry's family didn't just visit, they invaded. His parents, Lila, and Thea settled into my condo like they owned it, turning my quiet sanctuary into a chaotic mess. Lila, the older sister, was the worst. She'd barge into my workspace, demanding coffee or snacks while I was on client calls, her voice dripping with entitlement. "You're home all day, Mia, so you can handle this, right?" she'd say, smirking. Thea, the younger one, was quieter, but her silence felt complicit, like she was just waiting for her turn to ask for something. Their parents lounged on my couch, flipping through TV channels, leaving dishes everywhere. I'd grown up tidying after myself, taught by my grandparents to respect what I had. This felt like a violation, but I bit my tongue, hoping they'd leave soon. I tried talking to Henry, pulling him aside one evening after he got home from the pub. "They can't stay forever, right? When are they looking for a new place?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "They're in a tough spot, Mia. Their landlord kicked them out. Just give them time." His eyes softened, and I felt that old pull, the one that made me fall for him. I agreed, thinking I could handle a few weeks. But weeks turned into a month, and nothing changed. They didn't job hunt. They didn't house hunt. Instead, they acted like my condo was their personal hotel. Lila quit her part-time gig at a coffee shop, saying it was beneath her. Henry's parents admitted they'd stopped working their retail jobs before moving in. Thea, who I thought was in college, laughed when I asked about classes. "Why bother? We're set here," she said, gesturing at my home. My stomach churned when I heard that. Set? With what? Then it hit me they thought I was loaded. My parents' insurance payout and the condo's prime location had somehow painted me as a rich girl in their minds. One evening, Lila cornered me in the kitchen, her eyes gleaming. "You got a big settlement, right? No mortgage, fancy place like this? You don't need to work, Mia." I was floored. I'd never told them about the insurance, but Henry must have. I worked hard freelancing, juggling deadlines to keep the lights on, and they thought I was just sitting on a fortune? When I told Henry what Lila said, he snapped. "They're stressed, okay? They had to leave their home. Cut them some slack." His tone was sharp, not the charming Henry the first knew. I backed off, but the hurt lingered, like a bruise I couldn't ignore. Then I noticed the money disappearing. They'd ask for cash for job interviews or errands, but they'd come back with new clothes or takeout bags. No receipts, no explanations. I gave them small amounts at first, thinking I was helping. But the requests kept coming, and Henry always backed them up. "They need support, Mia. You've got plenty," he'd say, his words laced with guilt. I felt trapped, my generosity twisted into obligation. My grandparents' warnings echoed in my head, but I pushed them away, still hoping Henry would see how unfair this was. Then one morning, I checked my credit card statement, and my heart stopped. Thousands of dollars in charges, designer bags, electronics, fancy dinners, all on cards I didn't know existed. Family cards, Henry called them, issued in my name. When I confronted him, his laugh was cold, mocking. "You're always whining about money, so I fixed it. This is what family does. Or don't you get that, Mia?" His words cut deep. I stood there in my own kitchen, feeling like a stranger. The man I'd married, the one who'd made me feel seen, was treating me like I didn't belong. Worse, he acted like I owed his family for taking me in when I was alone. Alone? I'd built my life from scratch after losing my parents, and now he was rewriting my story to suit his greed. My hands shook as I realized the truth. Henry didn't love me. He loved what I had, my condo, my savings, my stability. Everything I'd worked for was a prize to him and his family. That night, lying awake, I felt something shift inside me. The hurt hardened into resolve. I wasn't going to let them take everything. If Henry thought he could play me, he was about to learn how wrong he was. The moment Henry told me I was on a trial period in his family, something inside me broke. Not my heart, my trust. I saw him for who he was, a manipulator who'd charmed his way into my life, eyeing my condo and bank account from the start. I wanted to scream, to throw them all out, but I wasn't that reckless. Instead, I decided to play their game, only better. I'd let them think they'd won, let them dig their own hole, and then I'd pull the rug out. It wasn't about revenge yet, it was about survival. I'd lost my parents young, rebuilt my life with my grandparents' help, and I wasn't about to let Henry and his leeching family take it from me. I kept quiet, nodding along when Lila demanded I cook dinner, or when Henry's parents asked for pocket money for their outings. I tracked every penny, every purchase on those family cards Henry had secretly issued. Designer sunglasses for Lila, a gaming console for Thea, steak dinners for his parents. It was all there, racking up on my credit line. I didn't stop them. I wanted them to feel untouchable, to get comfortable in their greed. Every time I handed over cash or ignored another extravagant charge, I reminded myself, this is temporary. They'll pay. My grandparents had taught me resilience, but they also taught me strategy. Don't fight a battle you can't win. I was planning to win. At night, when Henry was at the pub and his family was sprawled across my condo, I'd sit at my desk, pretending to work. Really, I was researching. I looked up tenant laws, credit card fraud, and divorce proceedings in Washington state. I contacted a lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Rachel who listened to my story with a mix of sympathy and steel. You've got a strong case, she said. Keep records of everything, texts, receipts, statements. And don't tip your hand. I took her advice, saving screenshots of Henry's dismissive texts, like the one where he said, "Stop complaining, Mia. My family's my priority." I even installed small security cameras in the condo's common areas, hidden in bookshelves and light fixtures. I told myself it was for safety, but deep down I hoped they'd catch something I could use. Months passed, and the strain was unbearable. I'd smile through gritted teeth as Lila mocked my little art projects, oblivious to the client pitches I was juggling. Henry's parents would leave dirty dishes in the sink, expecting me to clean up while they binge-watched reality shows. Thea barely spoke, but her smug glances said enough. Henry was the worst. His charm was gone, replaced by a cold arrogance. One evening, he came home, tossed his keys on the counter, and said, "You're lucky we're here, Mia. Most people would have left a loner like you." I wanted to slap him, but I swallowed the rage. Not yet, I thought. Let them think they're in control. Then one morning, I found the perfect opening. Henry was at work, and his family was out probably shopping with my card again. I checked the credit card statements and saw the balance had skyrocketed to a number that made my chest tight. But instead of panic, I felt a spark of triumph. They'd overplayed their hand. I called Rachel and laid out my plan. I'd give Henry one chance to choose me over his family, knowing he wouldn't. When he failed, I'd leave, but not before setting things in motion to reclaim my life. Rachel warned me it'd be tough, but she believed in me. "You're stronger than you think," she said. I held on to those words because inside I was terrified. What if I failed? What if Henry won? But then I thought of my grandparents, who'd raised me to stand tall, and my parents, who'd left me this condo as their legacy. I wasn't giving up. That evening, I waited for Henry to come home. My heart raced as I rehearsed my words. When he walked in, tossing his jacket on the couch like he owned the place, I took a deep breath. "Henry," I said, my voice steady, "this can't go on. It's me or your family. Choose." His eyes narrowed, and for a moment, I saw surprise, then contempt. "You're making this hard, Mia," he sneered. "My family's blood. You're just here. If you can't handle it, leave. And don't expect to keep this condo." His words were a gut punch, but they were also the fuel I needed. I nodded, grabbed my bag, and walked out, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and fire. I wasn't running. I was starting the fight of my life. Walking away from my condo felt like abandoning a piece of myself, but I knew it was temporary. I drove to my grandparents' house in their quiet town outside Seattle, the familiar sight of their cedar-shingled home calming my nerves. When I told them everything, Henry's betrayal, his family's greed, the credit cards, they were furious. My grandmother's eyes welled up, but she hugged me tight. "You're stronger than this, Mia," she said. My grandfather, usually gruff, just nodded and muttered, "We've got your back." Their support was my anchor, grounding me as I prepared to take Henry down. The next morning, I met with Rachel, my lawyer, at a coffee shop in downtown Seattle. I handed her a folder stuffed with evidence. Credit card statements, screenshots of Henry's texts, and footage from the condo's cameras showing his family's reckless spending. Rachel's eyes lit up as she flipped through it. "This is gold," she said. "We'll hit them with everything: fraud, breach of trust, and we'll push for alimony." I also told her about Henry's ultimatum and his demand for my condo. She smirked. "He's got no claim. The condo's premarital property, and we've got proof he's been fleecing you. Let's move fast." That day, she sent certified divorce papers to Henry, demanding he and his family vacate the condo. I also canceled the family credit cards, switching all my accounts to a new card Henry couldn't touch. It felt like reclaiming a piece of my power. A day later, my phone buzzed with Henry's name. I let it go to voicemail, my hands shaking with adrenaline. "Mia, what the hell?" His voice boomed through the speaker. "The cards aren't working, and I got your lawyer's letter. You can't do this. That condo's mine too." I laughed, a bitter sound even to my ears. I texted back, "Talk to my lawyer." Then I blocked his number. Rachel had warned me he'd lash out, but I wasn't backing down. I also called the utility companies, electric, gas, water, all in my name, and arranged to pause service to the condo. If Henry's family wanted to live there, they'd do it without heat or lights. It was petty, maybe, but it felt like justice. They treated my home like a free resort. Now they'd see what it was like without me. Over the next week, the cameras I'd installed paid off. I'd set them up to monitor the condo, expecting to catch Lila sneaking more of my stuff or Henry's parents trashing the place. What I got was bigger. Footage of Henry bringing a woman home, flirting shamelessly while his family was out. He bragged about owning the condo, spinning lies about kicking me out to impress her. My stomach churned, but I forwarded the clips to Rachel. "Adultery's a nice bonus," she said. "Judges don't like liars." I felt a pang of hurt. Henry's betrayal stung, even if I'd stopped loving him, but it was overshadowed by determination. He'd underestimated me, and that was his mistake. A few days later, Henry called from a new number, his voice frantic. "Mia, why's the power off? The water? You can't do this." I kept my tone cold. "It's my condo, Henry. You wanted me gone, so I'm gone. Figure it out." He cursed, claiming I owed him half the condo's value. I laughed and hung up, letting Rachel handle the rest. The truth was, Henry's income couldn't support his family's lavish habits. Without my cards, they were scrambling. Lila and Thea started pestering him for money, and when he refused, they raided his wallet, sparking fights I could hear through the camera audio. The condo became a pressure cooker, and I was turning up the heat. My grandparents kept me grounded through it all. One evening, as we sat on their porch, my grandmother squeezed my hand. "You're not just fighting for you," she said. "You're fighting for the life your parents wanted for you." Her words hit hard, reminding me why I was doing this. The condo wasn't just a building, it was my parents' legacy, the only thing I had left of them. Henry and his family had tried to steal it, but I was taking it back. Every step, every canceled card, every utility shut-off was a brick in the wall I was building between me and their greed. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was winning. It took a month for Henry and his family to crumble. Without my credit cards or utilities, the condo became a trap they couldn't escape. Lila's tantrums echoed through the camera feeds, her voice shrill as she blamed Henry for their mess. His parents argued about moving back to their old, run-down apartment, but they had no money to make it happen. Thea, usually silent, started sneaking Henry's cash, sparking fights that left the condo in chaos. Henry tried to hold out, calling utility companies to restore service, but since the accounts were in my name, he was powerless. The Seattle summer heat turned the condo into a sauna, and by early fall, they were gone. I didn't care where they went, back to their old life or somewhere else. They were out of mine, and that's what mattered. The divorce moved faster than I expected, thanks to Rachel's relentless work and the evidence I'd gathered. Henry's infidelity was the final nail in his coffin. The camera footage showed him parading his new fling through my condo, boasting about owning it while his family was out. Rachel presented it in court, along with the credit card statements and texts proving his fraud. The judge wasn't impressed with Henry's excuses. When Rachel demanded a hefty alimony payment for the emotional and financial toll, Henry's face went white. He tried to beg for reconciliation, claiming he'd made a mistake, but I was done. I'd seen his true colors: greedy, manipulative, and disloyal. Rachel pushed for every penny he could scrape together, forcing him to borrow from his employer to cover the settlement. I didn't feel bad. He'd brought this on himself. With the divorce finalized, I stayed at my grandparents' house, their quiet support giving me space to heal. My freelance work was booming, new clients, bigger projects, and a spark of creativity I hadn't felt in years. The condo sat empty, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. It was my parents' gift, a piece of them I'd clung to, but the memories of Henry's betrayal tainted it. One evening, I sat with my grandfather on his porch, watching the stars over the Puget Sound. "You don't have to decide now," he said. "That place is yours, always will be. But you're more than a building, Mia." He was right. Selling it might mean letting go, but it also meant moving forward. For now, I'd keep it, maybe rent it out. I wasn't ready to say goodbye. Looking back, I see how naive I was, falling for Henry's charm without questioning his motives. Losing my parents young left me hungry for connection, and he exploited that. But I'm not that girl anymore. I'm stronger, sharper, and I know my worth. I won't let a flashy smile or empty promises fool me again. I'm building a life on my terms, surrounded by people who love me for me. My grandparents, my clients, my friends who cheered me on through this mess. One day, I hope to find a partner who sees me as an equal, someone to share laughs and dreams with, not someone who sees dollar signs in my eyes. Until then, I'm enough. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through betrayal, battles, and a hard-won victory. If my story hit you, stirred something in your heart, hit that subscribe button and join us. Every fight, every comeback, every moment of standing tall, it's a story of reclaiming what's yours. Keep building your own strength, and I'll meet you on the other side, ready for whatever's next.